I had the grammar right. The vocabulary was strong. The sentence structure was perfect. I knew it was perfect because I had checked it 3 times. But the moment I finished speaking, my colleague looked at me and said, "Sorry, could you say that again?" And then again, and then a third time. And I realized, perfect English and clear English are not the same thing. Welcome back to Fluent Speak Lab, where real stories teach you real English. The English that actually lands, the kind people hear, understand, and remember. Not textbook perfect. Real world clear. Every week, one story, one lesson, one step forward. If you're here for the first time, subscribe right now. You're going to want to stay for this one. There is a specific kind of frustration that nobody warns you about. It is not the frustration of not knowing enough English. It is the frustration of knowing English, studying it, practicing it, getting it right, and still failing to connect. That was Alex's frustration, and it lasted for almost a year before he understood what was actually happening. Let me take you back to the beginning. Alex had always taken English seriously. Back home in Bangladesh, school, then college, then self-study. He had a notebook for vocabulary. He read English novels. He watched documentaries without subtitles. By the time he moved to the US, his written English was genuinely impressive. Emails, reports, messages, clean, structured, professional. His spoken English, he believed, was the same. And technically it was. The grammar was correct. The vocabulary was advanced. The sentences were complete. But something was wrong. And it took Alex a long time to name it. His first month at the company, small signs. A colleague asking him to repeat something. A confused expression after he explained a process. A meeting where he felt like he was speaking and people were listening but somehow not quite following. He dismissed it at first. Maybe they weren't paying attention. Maybe the room was loud. Maybe his accent. But then, month 3, a moment he could not dismiss. Alex was explaining a client issue to his manager David. Important situation. Needed to be communicated clearly. He spoke for about 90 seconds. Organized. Detailed. Technically precise. David listened. When Alex finished, David was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Okay, so what's the actual problem?" Alex blinked. He had just explained the problem. In detail. With full sentences. He said, The client hasn't received the updated contract. And the system shows. It was sent on the 14th, but our records indicate a discrepancy in the. David held up a hand gently. "Alex, bottom line, what do you need me to do?" Alex stopped. And in that pause, something shifted. He said, slowly, "The client didn't get the contract. I need you to approve or resend." David said, "Done. Send it." 12 words. Versus 90 seconds. Same information. Same situation. Completely different result. Alex walked back to his desk and sat very still for a long time. He thought about every conversation in the past 3 months. Every confused expression. Every repeat request. Every moment where he had felt the connection between him and the other person. Just slightly off. And he started to understand. His English was not the problem. The way he was delivering it was. That evening Alex did something he had never done before. He recorded himself talking. Not practicing phrases. Not rehearsing for a meeting. Just talking. Explaining something casually. The way he would in a real conversation. He talked for 3 minutes about a project he was working on. Then he played it back. And he heard it. For the first time, he actually heard himself the way other people heard him. 3 things stood out immediately. First, the speed. He was speaking fast. Not because he was nervous. Because in his head, the sentences were already formed and his mouth was just trying to keep up. But to a listener, especially a listener processing an accent they weren't completely familiar with, that speed made it hard to catch every word. Second, the sentence length. Every sentence was long, connected to the next sentence. And the next. No pauses. No breaks. No moments for the listener to process what had just been said before. The next wave of words arrived. It was like being handed an entire meal in one giant bowl instead of one course at a time. Third, the word choice. He was using formal, textbook vocabulary in casual conversation. Words like discrepancy, indicate, initiate, subsequently, technically correct, completely natural in writing. But in spoken conversation, especially fast spoken conversation, those words create a half-second of processing time in the listener's brain. And when you're speaking fast with long sentences, those half seconds stack up. until the listener is 2 sentences behind. And then they say, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" Alex sat with the recording for a long time. He wasn't speaking bad English. He was speaking written English out loud. And written English and spoken English, in real life, are genuinely different languages. Written English is formal, complete, structured. Spoken English is shorter, faster, messier, and full of tools that help the listener follow along in real time. Tools Alex had never learned. Because nobody had taught them. Because every English class he had ever taken was built around writing. So he started learning them. He started listening differently, not just to what native speakers said, but to how they said it. The pauses, the short sentences, the simple words chosen over complex ones. The moments where they checked, "You know what I mean?" Or "Does that make sense?" Pulling the listener back in. He started practicing differently too, not writing out answers and memorizing them. Talking out loud. Messy, imperfect, real talking. And within 6 weeks, something changed. David stopped asking him to repeat himself. A colleague told him, "You're really easy to talk to. You know that?" Easy to talk to. Not impressive. Not advanced. Not technically correct. Easy. And Alex realized, easy was the highest compliment he had ever received in English. Here are the exact techniques Alex used. And starting today, these are yours. Technique 1. Lead with the point. Most English learners build up to the main idea. They give context first, then details, then finally, the actual point. Native speakers do the opposite. They say the point first, then add context if needed. Compare these two. So I was looking at the client file, and I noticed that the date on the contract didn't match what was in our system, and there seems to have been some kind of error in the upload process, and basically, the client hasn't received it. Versus, the client didn't get the contract. There's a date mismatch in the system. That's probably why. Same information, but the second version. The listener knows what they're dealing with in the first 5 words. Lead with the point. Always. Technique 2. Use short sentences. Then pause. Give your listener time to receive what you just said before you send the next thing. Practice this rhythm. One idea. Short sentence. Pause. Second idea. Short sentence. Pause. It feels slow to you. It sounds clear to them. Technique 3. Choose the simple word. When you have 2 words that mean the same thing, always choose the shorter, simpler one in conversation. Instead of utilize, say use. Instead of initiate, say start. Instead of subsequently, say then or after that. Instead of indicate, say show or suggest. Instead of discrepancy, say mismatch or mistake. Simple words move faster through a conversation. Complex words slow it down. Technique 4. Check in with your listener. These small phrases keep the connection alive. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Are you with me so far? So basically, before you summarize, the short version is, before you simplify. If that makes sense. At the end of a complex point, these phrases do something powerful. They invite the other person back into the conversation. They signal, I care whether you're following, not just whether I'm talking. Technique 5. Slow down the important parts. You don't need to speak slowly all the time. That actually sounds unnatural. But when you reach the most important word or idea in a sentence, slow down slightly. Let it land. The client didn't get the contract. Slow down on didn't get. I need you to approve the resend. Slow down on approve. The listener's brain automatically pays more attention to the parts you emphasize. And here is the one phrase Alex now uses whenever he feels a conversation getting complicated. He stops. He says, "Let me put that a different way." And he starts again. Simpler, shorter, clearer. 5 words. Let me put that a different way. That phrase has saved more of Alex's conversations than any grammar rule he ever learned. Because clarity is not about how much you know. Clarity is about how well you can make someone else understand. And that is a skill you can practice. Starting today, starting right now, Alex didn't need more vocabulary. He didn't need better grammar. He needed to stop speaking for himself and start speaking for his listener. That one shift changed everything. Your challenge this week: record yourself talking for 2 minutes about anything. Play it back. Listen for speed, sentence length, and word choice. Then do it again, simpler, shorter, clearer. If this story helped you, share it with someone who studies hard but still feels misunderstood. Subscribe to Fluent Speak Lab because next week another real story is waiting. Speak for your listener, not for your grade. I'll see you in the next one.